go. Good boy. Good boy, Coffee.
Living in Pickering, Ontario suits Joyelle Applewhite just fine.
To me, it reminds me of home, which is Barbados. I live right on the lake, like near Lake Ontario.
Joyelle doesn't just live near a park and the lake. Her home is also just over a kilometer away from the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. The reactors here produce power for 2 million homes.
Did you have any reservations about moving a little more than a kilometer away from a very large nuclear power generating station?
Honestly, it wasn't a thought. It's just something that you walk past when you go to the beach or you go to the park, you know, or the woods. It's just there. Like, no one really pays it any mind.
Like most nearby residents, Joyelle has potassium iodine tablets at home, issued by the government to reduce radiation poisoning in case of a nuclear accident. They've never needed to be used.
So it's just like in case, you know, just in case.
60 years ago, Ontario decided on a nuclear path. It spent hundreds of billions of dollars and accepted the risks and the radioactive waste for carbon-free power.
Very nice to meet you. Hi.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi.
The province's Conservative Premier, Doug Ford, says there are no plans to change course.
How important is nuclear power to this province and to its energy mix?
Well, I think it's absolutely critical. You know, if you don't have wind or you don't have a sunny day, you don't have power on renewables. But with nuclear, it's running 24/7, 365. And it's consistent and it's green, clean energy.
Toronto is Canada's biggest city, the capital of its most populous province, Ontario. Most of Canada's nuclear power is generated here in 3 big plants. More than half of the energy keeping the lights on in this province comes from nuclear power.
In all, those 3 nuclear plants have 20 reactors, but some have been shut down, others are being refurbished at a cost of tens of billions of dollars.
So the very, very first startup is critical.
Professor Glenn Harville helps train the next generation of Ontario's nuclear engineers. As the debate in Australia over nuclear power develops, he believes the huge costs need to be considered.
My advice to you is you don't put your foot in the water on this one. You have to make a commitment and you have to dive in and accept that you are going to do this technology. You have to make a strong commitment to nuclear.
The first nuclear plant Ontario's government utility built in Pickering had an expected lifespan of 30 years. Now, startup to final decommissioning can last nearly a century.
Brand new one, you're looking at a 60-year operational life. If you decide to do deferred decommissioning, you're now looking at 30 years of safe storage and then finally 2 or 3 years of decommissioning. So when you add that all up, you're getting close to 100 years.
As Ontario doubles down on nuclear, there are plenty of critics focused on safety, costs, and especially waste.
We would prefer that the province get serious about building wind and solar power now as fast as possible. It's cheaper, can be built much, much faster. It finds better acceptance in communities. That's the route that we'd like to see.
Ontario has about 3 million radioactive fuel bundles in storage. After a decade in pools of water, they're put in containers and kept on site at power plants. Nuclear waste is managed by its own agency with its own demonstration center. Used fuel rods made up of uranium pellets need to be stored for centuries, if not longer.
Really, the drop-off of the radioactivity is actually quite significant in the first few decades, and then over the next sort of few hundreds of years, it drops off very significantly.
Canada has plans for a deep geological repository, a permanent solution to store nuclear waste 700 meters underground. But this mock-up won't become real unless potential host communities vote in favor. That's not guaranteed.
A lot of Australians, one of their real reservations about nuclear power is what do we do with the waste? Are you confident this solution can work?
Yeah, I'm 100% confident that this is the appropriate solution. And it's not just me, there's actually international scientific consensus that a deep geological repository is the appropriate way for the long-term management of used nuclear fuels.
Even the best case scenario won't see any waste in deep storage for at least 2 decades. Keith Brooks from Environmental Defence wants to see Ontario's nuclear plans dramatically scaled back.
I don't think it makes sense, no, to be expanding generation, to be building or committing to build new power plants when we still don't have a solution to deal with all of the waste that we've already generated. And whether we find a solution is up in the air.
Solving that issue is crucial to Ontario's nuclear future, including what's happening here, preparations for one of the world's first small modular reactors. 4 are planned. SMRs are smaller than traditional reactors, and at an estimated cost of $2 billion each, they're promoted as being cheaper. Ontario is currently spending $14 billion to refurbish 4 older reactors.
With 8 units operating, we were one of the largest.
Subo Sinatombi is the Chief Projects Officer for the provincial government's Ontario Power Generation Utility.
Not every jurisdiction needs a large new nuclear fleet like we do in Ontario. There are other jurisdictions that will need smaller designs, and this is definitely a game changer, even for us.
It's projected Ontario will need to double electricity production by 2050. Sinatombi says nuclear will be key to meeting that goal.
It's going to have a bigger role, whether it's with small modular reactors, refurbished reactors, or building large new nuclear.
Nuclear's role in that energy mix is key to Ontario cutting its greenhouse gas emissions. Premier Doug Ford says if Australia does explore nuclear power, Ontario is happy to help.
We're a world leader when it comes to nuclear energy, and we're going to continue being a world leader and working with countries around the world. We want to collaborate with people from Australia and show them the great opportunities they'll have if they build a nuclear facility.
And he has a message for those who are on the fence about nuclear power.
I want to tell the folks there, it's safe and it's clean and it's green. And you have 2 choices. You either go that route or you have coal-fired plants like we see in the US, we see in China. And I'll take the nuclear over coal-fired plants any day.
Oh, say hi, Coffee. Good boy.
For Joyal Applewhite and the people of this province, reactors are a fact of life. Ontario has invested so much and become so reliant on nuclear power, there is no turning back.